The show is called Life is the Seamstress of Dreams. How does it feel to look at this body of work and consider the evolutions or maybe even mini revolutions that come up in the show that we've been building so far?
Well, the painting Life is the Seamstress of Dreams was made in 2018. I was also looking a lot at magical realism to inform the sort of narratives. There's a book by Maputo, Mozambican author, called The Last Flight of the Flamingo. And there was all these really beautiful, poetic texts. And I remember one of them was a conversation between a spirit figure and someone walking land. And there was a mention that life is the seamstress of dreams. When I'm painting and telling story, I try to create a world where it's very hard to discern the waking life and the magical life or the dreamt life, and that maybe our lived experiences are maybe informed by our dreams. When making this show, it's essentially evolutions of many themes that I've been exploring. I'm bringing them all to surface in a very expansive and fulfilled way, like I'm giving them their platform. Everything has kind of exploded into this realm, right? Like that we're all in it in a way, like we're just walking this dream life together.
I love the way that you talked about waking life, dreamt life, etc. Can you unpack for us what was the pull for you to sort of approach a magical realist position as a painter?
Coming from Mozambique and having been born there and still in some ways deeply rooted there, but it still feels like foreign land, even though, you know, my mother and everyone is there. I grew up moving. I had a very peripatetic upbringing. I lived in Kenya and Indonesia and Haiti, throughout the diaspora. But one of the sort of connecting observations I made from when I became more mature, this is the Black experience, then later helps me even contextualize European art and realize the sourcing. And that made me want to further in my agency of how I demand stories from myself, and how do I put it out in a very kind of Western context. And for me, it was all about layers. I can reference a Bonnard bathing painting and then bring in a, antelope, which I've observed in sub-Saharan Africa or in Southern Africa, and create a mythology.
I have been reflecting on this idea of, I guess, the way that you decenter any kind of specific arc of art history. But I think what's so wonderful about your practice is that you invert that dynamic quite a bit by centering sub-Saharan African narratives, ways of belief systems, symbolism, etc. That becomes really the source, and everything else around it is peripheral or the variant. I wonder if there is a way in which you have been reflecting on what goes unspoken about your work.
This sort of melancholy for colonial time. Now, Mozambique is still a generally young country that is still shaping, it's still taking form, and I think learning who it is. I must tell that story, the melancholy for that, not to embrace colonialism, it's to embrace the complexity of a post-colonial world.